Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Larry LaFury. This is John Francola and the volunteers of WCTV, the All Cable Access Group from the Township of Washington. And tonight we are going to discuss what else the 2020 Jamboree basketball games that are being played over the whole month of February. And this week on Saturdays at Northern Highlands and at Tenafly, basketball is being played. John and I will discuss the Tenafly games because we were there. And Paul Pugliese, our special guest, the co-chairman of the Jamboree, he will discuss the games that were played at Northern Highlands. And we hope to have a coach come on, Coach Aaron Taylor from Hackensack High School, whose team won, and they played very well. I'm trying to feel who they beat.
Park.
They beat Richfield Park, and that game was kind of convincing. They had their front line in there, and they just pulled away, and then Richfield Park made a little run at them, but you never felt that Richfield Park was going to catch them and beat them.
Well, you know, it looks, when you look at the stats for this game, in the first half, Larry, there was what? They had, Richfield Park had 22, and they were a high-scoring team. And when you look at Hackensack had 46. So pretty much the game was put on ice, as they say, ahead of time. And you're right, they weren't ready to play. You know, because they're a good team, Richfield Park.
You know, and the way it's set up, you have your first round, and they're played at 3 different venues 2 weeks ago: Westwood, Bergen, Catholic, and up at Indian Hills. When they were finished with that, they had this, what I call round 2 or Sweet 16. I go back to the old days, Sweet 16. 4 games. So 4 games were played at Tenafly and 4 games were played at Northern Highlands. These are the games, Bergen County Jamboree games, that were played on, Saturday.
At Tenafly, right?
And these are the games that we saw, you and I were able to see. We're going to talk about the games up at Northern Highlands a little later. Don Bosco Prep, Garfield, Ridgewood, Fairlawn, Hackensack, Richfield Park, St. Joe Regional, Cresco. Let's take it the way they have it on the board. Don Bosco Prep and Garfield. 66-38, you could tell by the score that Don Bosco Prep is just an outstanding team. They got a lot of players. I don't think they have that one dominant player that could take over like of the years gone by, but they have a number of players who have skills and they have roles to play, like Miles Ruth, who's there, might be their best player. And they have the senior, Keel Watson. John, when you look at him, he's 6'7", and they told me he's still growing.
Oh, it's unbelievable the size that they have and the number of players that they were coming in. And what they did in this game, and this is what you have to do. You know, I think when you're a better team, you don't want to fool around. You go out in the first quarter, second quarter, and just put the knockout punch. This way you put the game on ice.
And they did something like that. Okay, they're telling us we have Coach Aaron Taylor. Coach, can you hear me? This is Larry LaFury, John Francola on WCTV.
How you doing?
Oh, we're doing well. First of all, thank you so very much for taking time being on the show. I know you have a lot of commitments tonight, so we're going to try to keep this short. In the Jamboree, you played a game on Saturday against Richfield Park. You jumped out to a big lead. You have a very athletic team. What was the key for your win on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock?
First was making sure that they were awake and ready to play from the tip for an early game. Second, I think both myself and Coach Gaskins understood that the tempo of the game would dictate how it would turn out. We want to play very fast, having most of our team back or being as healthy as we're going to be for the rest of the season, and having depth. We wanted to use our athleticism and pick them up full court and speed the game up. where I think they wanted to slow the game down and make it a half-court thing, half-court type of game. So I think we were able to get them to play at our pace more than they were able to do.
If you have to, are you comfortable playing a slow-down game?
I think we, as a team, as a coach and preparing our team, we try to prepare them for all situations, but we know what's our strength, and so we try to play to our strength. If we have to play a slow-down game, we will do so. I don't think it's going to be to our benefit, but I try to make sure that the team is prepared for all situations because we might not always be able to dictate tempo.
Coach, just a couple of players that came into this game, which for first time I saw them, one, I guess, was Kevin Mateo. And Kevin Mateo, I think, just came off disability.
Yes, he was out the first half of the season, and he's back now.
I tell you what, he played fantastic. Like you had when you were playing very fast. I mean, I was watching, and that young man had like 18 points in the first half. But his speed with your point guard, the young man, now you have young people there. I mean, I look at that point guard and Kevin Mateo, they just took the game completely away from Richfield Park, yes.
What makes Kevin Mateo so special? You could see when he's on the court, he just lights up as a special player. What makes him so special?
I think he just has that it factor that you can't teach. You know, some players have it, and he's one of them where the situation is never too big for him. He plays with such composure and calmness that it trickles down to the rest of the team. Everyone else feels more comfortable. He's a lead guard that can also play the point. He's a scoring guard, but he's just a leader in terms of what he does. So it makes everyone else's life a lot easier. And you know, he feels like he can take over at any time, but he also is very conscious of keeping his teammates involved and understanding that, you know, in order to go far as a team, one has to be a part of it. So he wants to make sure that they're staying engaged because he learned from last year that teams are going to eventually double team and triple team him. And so he wants to make sure that the talent he has around him is also able to shine.
You mentioned something that caught my ear, Coach. You used the word calmness. He's very calm. In a basketball game and the way you play, you have to be calm. Even though you're playing up-tempo, you play calm. And that's the special gift that this young man brings to the court?
Yes, definitely. I mean, he was out for about, I guess, 16 games. And our record, although, you know, Seth and Amir as seniors were able to hold down the fort, and some of our younger guys, Sean, stepping up. But there was times where we weren't able to keep that calmness. And, you know, there were times where we had trouble scoring, especially when they keyed on Seth, you know, not having Kevin there. So just his aura in practice, you know, just him being around the team, they look to him, you know, when things start to get unsettled, they look to him and you could just see that his expression doesn't change. He's intense, but never rattled. And so it just kind of carries over to the rest of the team, and they feel like, you know, in crunch situations, they will make a play. And they feel just more confident in being able to get on runs and get out. It just makes us so much harder to guard because I don't know too many players that are going to be able to stop him one-on-one, but he draws so much attention, and then Seth draws so much attention, and then we have talented players around them, so everyone gets touches, gets some easy baskets, and they start to feed off of each other, and it just starts snowballing, and it works in our favor.
Coach, just talk a little about Seth Sharif Brown. This young man, he's a senior, he's nice size, 6'4". You mentioned that he plays, you know, he's a lot better when Mateo is there to feed him and help him. But this young man, I mean, really took the game right from the first quarter to the end of the game. He did a great job for you.
Yeah, Seth is a super athlete that also has some talented skills in terms of playing basketball. So he is especially at the high school level, a very tough guard because he's really strong, super athletic, can jump out the gym, but he can also handle the ball, shoot it. So he's not too many weaknesses in his game. And I think the most, you know, there's a lot of impressive things about him. I think the most impressive to his game is his second and third jump. Mm-hmm. So although he plays above the rim, but it's how fast he gets up a second and third time. So you'll see him, make a move. If it's off, he'll be able to get back up and beat everybody to the tip. And then he can defend. He can block shots. He can guard guards. He can guard bigs. And then he gets out in the open floor, and they love for him to do the showtime. So everybody wants to throw him the alley-oop or get him the ball ahead so he can make a nice exciting play that rouses the team up to even go harder.
Aaron, just one other question that I had. Larry and I were discussing the possibility that you may have played at the Jamboree. Did you ever play Bergen Jamboree?
Did I play in the Bergen Jamboree?
Yes.
Or did his team?
You. I know Hackensack has played there. How about you? Were you a player there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I played. I graduated in 1997.
So then we had you on TV because we had this discussion, Larry and I said, geez, I remember Aaron Taylor was a heck of a point guard. He did a great job. And so it was 1997. Who did you play in that year? Well, this is a test of memory.
I remember there was an interview in a TV interview after we played Rutherford. They were the number 2 seed that we went to Rutherford. I think we played at Rutherford. And,
so now you're going to force. With that, you pricked our curiosity. Now we got to go back and look the games in '97 and find you and see you play him running up and down the court as an 18-year-old. So we're going to try to find that for you, Coach.
We had to have you on TV.
Yeah, we had to carry you, so we look for you. Listen, I know you got a big game on Sunday against Don Bosco Prep. They're a formidable team. I think you'll do very well. You'll show up. You'll play hard, and should be a good game running up and down the court. I want to thank you. I know you're very busy. You took a few minutes to come and talk to us. We appreciate it. John and I will see you Sunday morning at FDU.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity to come on the show, and it was enjoyable.
And good luck to you, Coach.
Good luck. We'll see you Sunday morning. Thank you, Coach. That's Coach Aaron. We have him. Now we got to go look for him.
There was 2 guards. That's why my mind was working. I remember him. I remember talking to him.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the mind is still not lost.
I got to ask the assistant coach who did he play with him? Because I think he played.
He watches everything that we do, by the way.
I know, he does. He's probably watching now and critiquing. All right. That's Coach Taylor from Hackensack. He did a nice job. He explained his team, and we'll start talking about the Hackensack original game again before we get to Paul Pugliese and all at Northern Highlands. They want to run. Now, do you think Bosco's going to run with them?
No. I don't think. I think they're going to try to slow the ball down.
How about controlled run?
Controlled run's a different story. Right. You run when you have it. Hackensack is going to run every time they get the ball, whether they have the room or not. No, Don Bosco they're going to be slowed down. If they have it, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 guys running. Yeah. If they don't have it, they're going to bring the ball very slow, pass it around 6, 7 times, and shoot the ball.
That should be a very good game. Now, the other game we saw up there was Don Bosco Prep and Garfield. We talked a little bit about that. Like I said, they had Carroll had 13 points, and Mal Calcio, he had 12. You're going to see a Don Bosco team where you may not find one guy scoring 25 and 30 points, taking the game over, but you may have 4 different players shooting 15, 16, 17 points. It's a different team Kevin DeVario has, and he's molding it just in time for the Jamboree in the States.
They have size inside.
Oh, they big.
And they can run with you. Oh. And they could win it all. The type of team that they have.
Oh, absolutely. Just think, Malakowsko is 6'5". You've got Carroll is 6'6". Watson is 6'7". Carter's 6'1". They're all 6 feet. 6 feet, 6'1", 6'7", 6'8", and they could jump and they could run.
And when you saw that game against Garfield, they made sure right from the start, we're going to be ahead of you in 2 quarters. The game is going to be and if you look at the score, it was like 42-15. So thank you very much. And now we play all our players, and the game is in our back pocket. We can worry about next week's game.
Right.
That's when you have a real good team, you hit them early, and then you get everybody playing time.
Right. And then Garfield had one player, Graham, with 15 points. The other game we looked at was Ridgewood against. Who they play? Ridgewood played. Yeah. Oh. So Ridgewood, they are a good team. I didn't realize how Matt Troy got this team. Coach Troy has got this team playing at a very, very high level. They are good.
They have outstanding guards and a young man, Tristan Winterstein, who had about 26 points in that game. But they shot the 3, and they took the game completely away from a team that I thought was going to win. Fairlawn.
Fairlawn was a good team. You and I were talking about the 3 players that Fairlawn had that were injured. And I saw Fairlawn last year with Bobby Maines at Fairlawn. Westwood played. I went there. And I said, boy, this program, not the team, he's got a very nice program. These kids are good. I thought that they would play very well and keep it really close. But Ridgewood, in those kids they have, now they had a number of kids there that were shooting the eyes out of the ball.
You had Devin Johnson, outstanding shooter, guard, #1. But you had balance. But of course you had the big guy inside really took the game over, Tristan Winterstein, with the outside shooting. And again, this is how you beat a team.
Right.
You get there, and the score was 42-29 at the end of the first half.
Yeah, they did. #4, Max Gieselman. Every time he got the ball and there was nobody on him, he sunk a 3 at the bottom of the rim. He just sunk it, and he played well. How many points you have him down for, John?
This is Gieselman had 2. He only had 2 threes, but the other guys, Favieri had 3 threes. Another guard. Then you had Devin Johnson had 2 threes. And then of course you had the big guys shooting. They all can shoot the ball, and what they did, they took the game completely away from Fairlawn. Fairlawn big guy, or Sujevski, I believe he comes from Norway or Sweden.
He can play.
He can play. He scored a lot of points. I think he scored 30 points, but he shot a lot. And he wasn't in the game. And once again.
And they're going to play a team we're going to talk about now, the St. Joe Cresco team. St. Joe's was probably off the entire game. One of their players, well, not mentioned, missed 6 free throws in the 4th quarter. You never see that.
Can't do that.
You never see that. St. Joe's just was grinding that out. Like they just weren't clicking. It's like everything was off for them, but they were able to pull out the win here. They're tremendous guards. Their guards are just extremely, extremely fast. They put pressure on that team, and they were able to hold Cresco down. But Cresco came back. John, with about 50 seconds to go, Cresco got within 8 points of St. Joe's. They were down by 15, 18 points. And Brian Carr told me that in the second half, if my numbers were right, St. Joe's was outscored like 23-18 in the second half. See, that's how hard Cresco played.
Next week's game with Ridgewood, they're playing Ridgewood, is that? This is going to be the battle of the guards. The 2 guards, you're going to have Johnson, you're going to have Carney, Favieri, and then against St. Joe's, you have
Rogers and Williams.
They're going to have, and the game is going to be a track meet.
That game there, that game is going to be a very interesting game to watch. And you know, it's just amazing. We were just sitting there. It was the last game, and we're sitting there, and St. Joe's pulling away. You know, you look. All of a sudden, it started getting closer and closer and closer. And we looked at each other with less than a minute to go, and we said, "There's 8 points. There's a 3-possession game here with a minute to go."
No, I like this game. A very close game. You're gonna have the battle inside with Wennerstein. And I forgot the young man for St. Joe's, the 6'5" kid inside. They're going to have to battle. But this young man, Wennerstein, a very intelligent guard.
Yes.
Not guard, center.
Yep.
And what he'll do, he'll take you, and he can go to the hoop, or he can shoot from outside. If you're going to win this game, you have to stop. You got to keep Wennerstein under 20 points.
And he, not only that, we didn't keep score. Brian Carr was trying to keep up with him. The number of rebounds he had. He made sure there were rebounds that came to Ridgewood. They had very few offensive rebounds, Kreskill did.
And now me switching over to Ridgewood, in the Ridgewood game, Wennerstein, in the fourth quarter, Larry, took the game over, and he had like 14 points in the fourth quarter. Underneath, and he probably had 6 or 7 assists for Ridgewood. And you have to stop this individual to win the game.
And we were talking about he does the little things that are so successful. He knows how to block out. He knows how to go for a rebound. He's big. He has big hands. When he gets the ball, you're not getting away from him. When he goes up, people bounce off of him. So he was very impressive, that young man. And St. Joe's, Ridgewood, is going to give St. Joe's an awful lot of trouble.
Wennerstein had 29 points, and he had it when it counted. When in that game, when Phelan was making a run, he took the ball to the hoop. He made like 16 points in the fourth quarter. You need an individual plus a lot of rebounds. You got to box him out and get him in foul trouble. If not, this Ridgewood team could upset.
That's absolutely. I wouldn't be shocked. I might be surprised. But I wouldn't be shocked if Ridgewood pulls that out. I was so impressed the way they play, the way they coached, the plays they run, the defense they run, the intensity that they have. It's a very, very good team. And I think you're going to see a great game there with St. Joe's and them. It
should be a track meet, the big court.
It could very, very, very well be a track meet. What was also as good is that the game started on time. There was no, we didn't have to wait an extra, we were late by 10 minutes or 15, right on time.
I had to go pick up my son, so I had to move out.
They did a great job. Yeah, and the people at Tenafly, I want to thank them for being so good to WCTV and giving us the choice seats on the side. We had the catbird seats.
But you know what it was? Everybody would come over and talk to us.
I know.
We felt like, did you feel like a movie star or just somebody who you snuck in there? Let me just do my scorekeeping here.
It was those
great.
were good games there. We're going to talk to Paul Pugliese when we get him up in a few minutes, and he's going to discuss the games that were at Northern Highlands. Well, I don't want to take some of the air out of this, but there was a records made at the Saddle River Day and Ramsey. There's 21 threes. They were firing them from midcourt.
I know Ramsey loves to shoot the three.
Oh my God!
They're in the 4th, 5th grade. They're shooting threes. Come on.
4th and 5th, I think when they get to kindergarten, they start shooting them. But let's see here. The Bergen County Coach Association and Bergen Jamboree Committee would like to thank the staff and athletic directors of the following schools that have offered their services, and they do a lot of work. Bergen Catholic, Hackensack High School, Indian Hills High School, Northern Highlands High School, Westwood High School, and Fairleigh Dickinson University.
And Tenafly. And Tenafly were.
And of course, Tenafly, we were there. But John, when you go there, you see that they do a lot of the work. The committee takes care of the game. They don't have to worry about what's going on behind the scenes, bringing the kids, the teams to different locker rooms. Everything is there.
What about Tenafly? You talk about that little room that you were in there in Tenafly. You had what, an 80 big. The whole wall was a TV, and you're sitting there eating away, and you're watching the best basketball. You can call the game from there. You don't miss anything.
Well, a couple of people sat there for the 4 games and just sat there and watched the games and talking to their friends.
I put a couple of pounds over I had to walk 3 miles later on to get rid of it.
Yeah, so they do well, but these schools take care of it, and they sell the tickets. They get the
it's a
people
beautiful
in.
place.
They escort people to the gym. They sit people down. When the teams come in, they meet the team. We meet the team, and they bring the team to the locker room, take the kids out of the locker room. They do an awful lot of work. So those schools, I'm sure the Jamboree Committee would like to thank them. I think we have Paul Pugliese now on the phone.
Hey, Larry. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Paul, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
We're doing fine. Well, you have 2 rounds down. You got 3 to go. John and I were talking about the games up at Tenafly. You were nice enough to come on the TV now and talk about the games that were at Northern Highlands because you saw them. All we have are the scores and and some of the highlights of the players. So if you can go through the games here, and talk to us about what happened there in your flavor very quickly. I believe the first game we have Pascack Catholic High School versus Dwight Morrow. So how did it go up there, the score and the high scores?
Okay, well, Dwight Morrow played pretty hard, but they were outmanned a little bit by Paramus Catholic. Mike Dodo, long time at Cresskill, a great player at Cresskill, has been over at Paramus Catholic the last couple of years, has really got the Paladins playing some great basketball. They've had some really big-time wins over the top teams in the county, and of course they're the the number 5 seed. Dwight Morrow, Leo Jones, the guys, like I said, they played real hard. Fulgencio, 6'2" swing player, had a great game for Dwight Morrow. He had 23, but unfortunately, they just didn't have quite the power they needed to compete with Paramus Catholic. Nico Ruffin, the guard, and Derek Bueno, Paramus Catholic's big guy, both had 23. And they were supported by another one of their guards, senior Jordan Morris, who had 18. And so Paramus Catholic just had a little bit too much for Dwight Morrow, and they won 90-60. So Paramus Catholic moves on to the quarterfinals, and they are going to play the winner of Ramsey and Saddle River Day, which was Ramsey. And the Ramsey Saddle River Day game was really a fun game to watch. Saddle River Day, of course, Group 1 out of the NJIC Patriot Division with head coach Anthony Gallo. He's got a fun team, and they have a freshman, Richard Machado, who he went off. I think they set a record for the most 3-point shots made in the Jamboree, and I think he might have had 6 freshmen. He ended up with he's 5'10", and he ended up with 22 points. They had 2 seniors, senior Connor Soon, 6'4", big for Saddle River Day, had 16. Ryan Casals, another guard, junior guard, had 18. So they put up a bunch of points. Ramsey just unbelievable, well-coached, well-drilled team. And, of course, they have a couple of the best players in the county. Jaden Quinterly, their guard, had 29. And Sean Hansen heading off to Cornell, their 6'8", 6'9", big. He also had 29. So between those 2 guys, they had 58 points.
Hey, Paul, just a quick aside, just to jump for a second. Ramsey is going to play Paramus Catholic High School. Do you think the winner has to score 65 points to win?
Ramsey will run their offense. They will be patient, and they will get a good shot every time. Kevin McGuire, the coach over there, does a great job, and they are an experienced team. Their top 3 players. The two I mentioned and Stephen Turk are all seniors. They've been down this road before, and they will be patient on offense and try to probably, my guess, would be they would try to negate Paramus Catholic's athleticism and quickness. But I wouldn't be surprised if they scored 65, the winner. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I see Ramsey. They have a tendency of putting up a lot of points. Paramus Catholic, they have a tendency of putting up a lot of points. So you figure 65, 70, then they play the game, and the game winds up 50-47, and you say it was a defensive struggle.
You know what
right.
You know what may happen at Fairleigh Dickinson? The bigger court, you have a tougher shot shooting at three because you don't have that closeness. You know, it's a big gym, and at times the great shooters don't shoot that well there. So you may have a lot of shots, and the score will stay closer, maybe 65, 70 point for the winner.
You're right, John. It's a 94-foot court, and the kids are used to playing on, 84-foot court, so 10 feet shorter. And you do have that difference in the background. But, Ramsey was there before. I think Ramsey is I don't think they'll be that fazed by the big court. I think the big court does favor the more athletic team. But early in the season, I saw Ramsey at St. Joe's. Of course, St. Joe's is the number 2 seed. Paramus Catholic recently beat St. Joe's. And Ramsey was facing a very, very athletic St. Joe's team. And they hung in there. It ended up being a 4-point game at the end in favor of the Green Knights. But Ramsey, they hung in there. They know how to play against the tough teams. They've played a pretty tough schedule this year. And I think Kevin McGuire did a good job getting them ready for this point. So I think it's going to be a good. Usually when you set up brackets, right, the 4-5 game is one of those games where you think should be a really good game, and it sure looks like it will be.
Yeah. Now, the next game was the 8-9 game. Those games are probably the better games that you want to go see. Were you at any point here surprised that Pascack Hills High School beat Ramsey, or it didn't come as a surprise to you? Because I know you've seen these teams, and your committee's seen these teams numerous times.
Well, I was not that surprised at all because Pascack Hills plays in a real tough division, and they play teams like Ramapo. Ramapo, of course, plays one of the toughest schedules of anybody. So these teams are loaded with experienced, tough, hard-nosed players, both of them. Pascack Hills, Paul DeRico, the coach over there, they run their stuff. I'm very familiar with their offensive system. And they will run it and run it and run it, and they will pretty much get the ball to the right people at the right time. Of course, Paul has the great Mike O'Brien on his bench over there, who's one of the great coaches in the history of Bergen County basketball. And the big guy, Aiden Kehoe, 6'8", 6'9", junior, he clogs up the middle, and then they have Schulman, Morales, and on the perimeter. And, boy, I love their game. Schumann and Morales both. Schumann handles a lot. He doesn't make many mistakes. He's a solid, big shoulder kid who's also got quickness. He's 6'2", and Morales supports him well at 6'3". They had 16 and 15, respectively, the other day. The problem that Ramapo had and it seemed to be similar to what I saw when I saw Ramapo lose at home to Ridgewood. They just don't have enough firepower. Max Pernetti, 6'6", he played a tremendous game. He was all over the court, both ends. He finished with 27 points, but unfortunately, they couldn't get much scoring support. They play great defense. They're very physical, Ramapo, but they just didn't have another guy or two to put up, 10, 12, 15, to support. Pascack Hills had 4 guys in double figures, the 3 I mentioned, along with Christian Tim. So, you know, they got 4 different guys, even 5 that could score. Ramapo didn't seem to have that, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, Pernetti did a yeoman's job, but they needed more firepower. Joe, of course, has the kids playing. Joe Sandberg, their coach, always has the kids playing hard, you know, and they make every possession a war on both ends. But they just needed somebody else to put the ball in the basket a few times. So you know, Ramsey ended up winning by, I think, 18. But, I'm sorry, Pascal Hills ended up winning by about 11. But it wasn't really that surprising to me in an 8-9 game. You know, I like I said, I had seen Ramsey, I had seen Ramapo before, and they really needed some other guys to score the ball.
All right, Paul, finally, a game that on the surface here and probably on the court, Bergen Catholic 83 and Hasbrook Heights 46. I guess it was just too much of the athleticism there, huh?
Well, you know, Hasbrook Heights coach, Mike Sabella, who, of course, was a great player at Hasbrook Heights himself and has been doing a great job as a coach, sent us a note. And it was really a great note, how much he enjoyed being in the tournament and that this was the greatest day of his basketball life. I thought that was a really great note to see. Their kids played their hearts out. And at the end of the first quarter, they're winning by 1 over Bergen Catholic. And I was sitting right there at the end of their bench, you know, near the end of their bench, and they were just so pumped, those kids, and I'm sure they're going to, I told Mike after the game, I said, I'm sure your guys are going to be better off for the effort that they put out, you know, against Bergen. Kunga Tsiring, their 6'6" junior, he's so athletic, and you know, he had a great game. He had 22 points. Jaden Castro had 15. And they played their butts off. But you're absolutely right. Bergen brings you know, weapons that most of the teams in the county don't have. They you know, obviously Matt Zona, one of the best players in the county, in the middle at 6'9". You know, he takes up the whole middle of the key area, and he dominates. And he can get up and down, and he can step outside and shoot the ball. He had 16, but really it was the Bergen guards were just too quick, and Bergen pressed. I've been in a situation before. I know exactly what happened to Hasbrook Heights. They expended tremendous amount of energy in that first quarter, energy that they're not used to expending in their, and they can't duplicate it in practice. And they handled Bergen's press. Like I said, took a lead at the end of the first quarter, but they kind of ran out of gas. Bergen, Will Richardson and Julian Brown and their other guards, you know, they're just way too quick. Bryson Polite, Rajon Figures. I mean, they got so much quickness and athleticism that Hasbrook Heights really couldn't sustain the effort that they needed to make it a game. And mostly it was off the press. Bergen ran a full-court man press, doubling the ball when they had a chance. And the final ended up being 83-46, I think, something like that. And, you know, the Bergen kids are so composed. You know, they were not, you know, Billy Armstrong does such a great job over there. They were, you know, they weren't really fazed by the fact that they were losing at the end of the first quarter. They knew that their game plan and their weapons were powerful enough that they were going to prevail, and they just stayed with their game. And, you know, they're in the number 1 seed for a reason.
Well, I agree with you, Paul. I think over the years doing the game and sitting with you and listening to you and the committee members, teams like Hasbrook Heights and Bogota, they take an awful lot from the Jamboree, because when they get ready to play the states in about 2 weeks, they'll be a better team all around, because they've been tested in the Jamboree. They played the best. They were under a lot of pressure, people watching them cheering back and forth, and I think they take an awful lot from the Jamboree, and it bodes well when they get into the States. Other than the games You being the co-chairman of the Jamboree, everything is going well with all the venues. You're very pleased with everything so far, I'd assume.
Yeah, everything was good. It was kind of funny. We had Hackensack had a little scoreboard issue, which I believe they've corrected, and so did Northern Highlands. So leading up to last weekend, we were hearing that both our quarterfinal, our round of 16 and our quarterfinal site were having scoreboard issues, but they've been rectified. Those are things that chairmen have to worry about, but most of the folks don't even notice that. But everything's going well. We had great crowds at Northern Highlands. Bob Williams and his group over there at Northern Highlands do such a wonderful job. We had great crowds. Everybody was under control. There was no issues at all during any of the games. And that round, that round of 16 could be really tough at times because that's when you start to get down. The top seeds are playing, and they're matched up often against lower seeded teams. Like Bergen was 1 and Hasbrook Heights was 17. So there's usually a disparity there. But everybody handled it well. The games were well fought, well contested. Coaches, I'm sure, were pleased with the effort from their guys, and everything went well.
Well, Paul, I want to thank you so very much for taking time. I know you had to run home. You were doing different things in the afternoon to give us a little insight into the games that we didn't see, and we appreciate that. John and I, of course, will see you at FDU on Sunday morning. Got 4 games. We're going to go over very quickly the games and the times. But thank you very much, and thank the committee for extending all the hospitality to John and myself while we were at the Tenafly.
Yes, thank you very much,
thank
Paul.
you, guys. You guys are the best.
Thank you.
You're getting healthy,
Good.
right, Paul?
Good. I'm going to play that back for my wife. I'm the best. She wouldn't believe it, but I want to play it anyway.
My wife knows I'm not the best.
So we do that. Paul, thank you so very much.
Listen, if you ever need a character witness, let me know.
Oh, Paul, you and I could do that. What a job the two of us would do.
Yeah, we'll take that under advisement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. That was Paul Pugliese.
Okay.
Thank you. That was Paul Pugliese. He is the co-chairman of the Bergen County Boys Basketball Tournament. We call it the Jamboree.
Can we pick an upset here?
No, I don't pick. No upsets. I'm sorry.
Let's take a look. Let's see.
That's it. It's 11:30. Don Bosco at Hackensack, 1:15 Ridgewood at St. Joe Regional, 4:30 Ramsey at Paramus Catholic, and it all ends 6:15 Bergen Catholic plays Pascack Hills. They're excellent games, and you go, you sit, you relax, you watch the game of your choice, you watch all 4 of them. It's a good place to be, and they do get a lot of people for these games, so you want to get a nice seat, get there a little earlier to watch these games.
Fantastic game, great place to watch the game, and expect the barn burners, a lot of pressure, a lot of shooting. You'll have a lot of fun.
And then next week, next Monday, we'll be back for another recap and preview as we recap these games and get ready for the semifinals, which will be played at Hackensack High School on the Saturday, the 22nd. There we got that up there. The semifinal will be Saturday, the 22nd, and the final game, the 28th, coming to the end of February. Boy, does February go fast. The championship game will be at the Rotman Center, and I know the time for that one. It's been for 20 years. That's 7 p.m. at the Rotman Center. So for the entire gang here, I want to say thank you. I want to thank Coach Aaron Taylor for Hackensack, Paul Pugliese. I want to thank the WCTV volunteers, Fred and Ida, Emily. Inside we have Nick, Ricky, and Shane. For John Francola, this is Larry Ferry. We hope you enjoyed the show. Catch up show next week as we recap and preview the 2020 Basketball Jamboree. Good night, everybody.